Now with that effect alone, I use that effect throughout the whole track. Throughout the whole track I can use this effect. Now what I do with this effect is I let it be, and I can just save the file now. I can save my file always, and I can always use that effect now, as it's in this file that I have now. Now since my track is doing something now in terms of that style, what I can do is I can place, let's say, one more step back with my kick. I can have 3 kicks missing from the whole drop. That way it makes sense and it's a nice beautiful gesture. And what else can I do with this, with my drop? At the moment I have 1 growth speed chain. Now I can place 2 growth speed chains inside the track, and it's worthy for me to do so. And that one can go, let's have a look. You can go in my part 2 section. What I can do is, let's have a look over here. When I do that, what's going to happen? And you can just minimize your automation clip, make it minimized in terms of bring the sides of your automational clip together to just be where the actual automation is completing itself and working. So look over here. Now I have this one. Where would I place it? Over here. I'll place it over here, for example. Let's have a look. Right here. So have a nice beautiful pattern going. So at the beginning of my actual, for example, my 4th drop from my 4th bar has the first effect chain as my first bar. In terms of my track, so just before the 4th bar of the 16 kicks that happens in the 4th bar, before that is my effect chain. So this one has to be around, it can be anywhere, and just make sure no matter what, that it's just in line, everything that's in line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it also where just to make everything nice and simple, since it's going to be 1 and 3. So look. So in terms of your drops, be the person who is really, let's say you're doing something in one end of the track and you have four ends of the track, do 1 and 3 together, do 2 and 4 together. That's what I'm doing. Let's have a look over here. I'll cut this over here. Let's see, does this work? Beautiful, it works. That's it. There we go. Now, you can also make, for example, number 2 and 3 go together. So what I'll do now is, it's very beautiful that the automation clip, even though that you raise the volume down in some aspects of it, they just copy and paste the actual automation clip that works on top of it, and it will just work, which is amazing. So what I'll do over here is I'll just move this one over here, so I can place it as here, and this one here I can totally just take it away, and I can use the actual clone of my automation clip to just place it where my, let's have a look over here, beat 1 and beat 2 is. That's why I've done it over here. So what else you can do is you can just make sure you're testing it all out, and that way it can work for you. Let's have a look over here. Before the 4th bar and before the second bar. So it will be 1 and 2. Now, that works for me. Why not? It will sound this way. So no matter what, you have to keep the lines down in terms of your automation clip where there's a line saying that this part of the track will be non-existent. You have to make sure that you keep that line there. So that's what I was saying. Now it's going to work. So when you have an automation clip, make sure the parts where there's no effects is 0%. Otherwise, if you cut the automation clip where, for example, there's no line that's saying this is 0%, it's going to start doing the effect over and over. So that way, now I see what's happening over here. Now it's going to work. This is going to be 0%. There we go, now it works. Guess what, now that's it. In terms of my drop, that can be my drop. And now it's very beautiful. It has a sound that I need. It's mastered completely. Now, in terms of my master and my Maximus, the low end is, let's have a look over here. What I can do is I can lower the volumes of the actual high end in my master. Let's have a look. Более. Nah. So in the Maximus, I just leave it high and low end at the moment. Otherwise, there's no kick in the high end. So I gave it a test to see what's going on. So look over here. Now, in the EQ, remove the high end totally. Remove the high end totally, believe me. In the EQ, you have to remove the high end, otherwise your kick is going to have too much high end inside the kick. So your master, Maximus, or your compressor has to be, let's say, high end and low end all the time, while your EQ, inside of your EQ section, is a different type of master, where you have to use your kick in terms of, you have to EQ the high end and low end of your kick in order for you to have a compressor that has a high end and low end going. Because the master, in terms of your compressor, is going to help you to boost your kick in the way you've EQ'd it. So that's very, very simple and very easy to do. Now, for my beautiful track over here, that can be that. And now what you can also do is you can put extra beats inside of your drop, just extra beats. So let's have a look. Since I've made it this way, and that can be shown that way, I can also place, let's have a look over here. In number 1 and number 2, I can go, for example, I can make it unique. I can make the kick box unique. Make a unique kick box. Channel rack. Let's have a look. And let's have a look over here. This one here can have an extra kick to it. I can place a kick, let's have a look. Place 3 kicks over here. Place 3 kicks. see what happens. So you can make the unique section of your pattern, you can make it a unique pattern. So you can see where your patterns are. Let's have a look over here. So for pattern 2, I can have 4 kicks with a nice beautiful, let's say, this one here and this one here. It can sound this way. It can sound that way for me. And then I will make that into 6 of them, how I've done it. So now I go to pattern 1 to see is it all there. To 6 of them, yep, it's the first 6. And just make sure that you delete any channel racks that you're never using inside of your FL Studio, so you can completely be neat and tidy inside of your system. And guys, just make sure that you're very nice. Nice is the way to be. That's the way. Now, since I do have pattern 2 ready, it's actually pattern 3, pattern 2, pattern 1, pattern 2, over here, pattern 1, pattern 2, and pattern 3 is different. So I have pattern 3 over here, and I'll place pattern 3 in the 1 and 2, the 1 and 3 areas of life. So I'll place it over here, and I'll take away my previous kick patterns. So it's going to sound dum 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 dum, and then we'll go into my effects, and then we'll start to go dum 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 again. So I've just changed the pattern of my kick range. Now, in terms of that, so look over here, place this over here, just let it be that way. Let's have a look. So for this kick, I can let it be the way it was. There's no worries. I can do that. Now I can place a pattern to see. That's how it sounds. My pattern 2, no. So my pattern 2 is gone. Yeah, I see what's happening. And the hat really makes a difference. When you're playing a hat in your track, it's going to make a difference for you. So what you can do is, that's why actually my kicks never really worked. As I took away the hats place your hats as well inside the pattern. That way, the kick will be heard with the actual hat. There you go. Let's have a look over here. Now, that's the pattern. So, I can let that be. I can let that be. I can let it be totally. I can let it ride. Let's have a look. Make sure, guys, that you triple your buffer inside the FL Studio with FL Studio ASIO so that you can have 247 ms in terms of 200. In terms of the actual buffer speed. Make sure it's all the way to the right so that your FL Studio will never lag. So look over here. Now, in terms of my drop, that can be my drop. That can be that. Let's have a look over here. And I can make a nice beautiful drop over here. And I can let that be that. Let it be that. And it sounds this way. Has a bass, has a subwoofer, and that's the whole point. That just goes into my drop. And now, since I have that all nice and beautifully ready to go, now I'll copy and paste what I've done in the drop in my other drops. So I'll remove the other drops. So I've done my first drop, and that's how it just looks that way. In terms of it's a simple track. That's it. It's a simple track, very simple track. And I can use this track for all my tracks, all my sets. And I've learned something along the way. And now I have 3 drops, the same range, the same effects, the same changes. And now I can export the whole file. And that's all I'll do. I'll just do that. Now I export the whole file over here. And what I do is, I go to where the finish of my track is, which is at 125, bar 125. And I will just make sure to do, for example, I'll highlight the whole track and I'll render from the whole track. So it's going to be, let's have a look, it's going to be 3 minutes 25 seconds. Say kick arrangement now. Kick arrangement. Kick arrangement. So now with this stem that has nice beautiful 3 minute 25 second range, I can put it in any drop of mine in the future. Just this, what I've done. I can always use it. There we go. Now, I have the hardstyle track 2 kick, which is just a kick, and now I have the arrangement of how the drops sound, just with the kick. In 124 bars. It's 124 bars. For 3 minutes and 25 seconds is beautiful for me. And let it be. I can just render that at, let's have a look. Do it in 32-bit float, guys. Make sure you export your files in 32-bit float, please. That way I have the beautiful stem file now. When you export in 32-bit float, you can always export it in 16-bit. Now, I will also just make sure to do my kicks once again, just so I can render it in 32-bit float. So, for example, with your actual automation clip, make sure that it's never clipping while you are exporting. And also, for example, with that, make sure that your automation clip is at 0% when you're exporting the kick also, so that you can never hear the effect chain when you export your kick. That way, just a kick, dun, 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 dun. That way it's much better for you. And that's going to export. I export that as my kick, which is going to be my 32-bit float one now, as I did the 16-bit before. So now, beautiful. Now, when I, for example, place my beautiful kick arrangement inside of my arrangement list, it's going to be mastered. It's already completely mastered. And all I'll do is beautifully, let's have a look over here. Once I place that one, so it's really the kick arrangement, all I place is the WAV file, the full WAV file inside of the actual track that I've done, and I can play it always. So look. So for example, let's have a look over here, what's happening. Just to see what's going on. So when I export it, now see what's going on. When I exported my actual kick arrangement, what happened was it never really worked out to be how it's supposed to be. So what I'll do now is I'll make sure that it works out for me. Let's have a look over here, what's going on. How did it never work out for me? As what happened was, the WAV file was just doing my kick arrangement all the way in gross beat and inside the effects chain. So my effects was just going off. So I have to make a separate one over here for myself where I can do the automation clip inside the automation clip. So when you're making automation clips, do it within that same automation clip and then export and see, is there a difference? So look over here. Make sure you cut the sides of your automation clip to make it nice and clean for yourself. So look, so it's supposed to be over here, and I'll just get the pencil and I'll draw up 51% for myself again. So look at 51%. You can also copy value. You can copy the value of your automation clip and you can place it where you need to. And you just paste the value of your automation clip. And then what you do is you delete everything else that you, for example, did in terms of the other two drops. Then you copy the new version into where it's supposed to go, to drop 2 and drop 3. And then what you do is just export the whole track again. And this time, let's have a look how it goes. And just when you export your track, when you export your actual file, export it from where the track finishes. So only highlight the part of the track where it's the full track, and make sure that no matter what, that all of your sounds are going to work by having everything muted for yourself. That way, let's have a look over here, what's going on. WAV file. So I'll make sure to do this as a kick arrangement for myself. Please check, or else I'll just save as. 1 second. So we'll save as. Nice, beautiful. And here, I'll make sure this is real. It's going to be a different name. So export your files in a different name all the time, so you have no issues with same file names. That way, when I hear it out now, it's supposed to be the actual kick arrangement. So look over here. Now it's working. That's working beautifully now. I can actually hear the track now. And in my track 2, let's just have a look over here. Ah. So what happened, guys, you have to realize what happened is that when you move, for example, your track file that you just exported back into the software to see the actual WAV file, and then you play it inside the software that you exported the file, what's going to happen is your actual file will start to distort in terms of it will start to do what you did inside of the arrangement. So that first export that I did with my kick arrangement was perfect. And then I realized it's because of the actual arrangement inside the FL Studio that made the actual export of my stem file seem like something was never as good as it was supposed to be. So that first actual export from the arrangement file was excellent. So hands-on, that's beautiful. That's it. And also my stem files are working. So all I'll do is I'll just use, for myself, I'll use the third one. That's beautiful. So for example, just make sure for yourself that you use totally a new setup of a FL Studio when you're throwing in all of your stuff in terms of your actual stems that you exported. Make a totally new FL Studio and then throw in all of your tracks into a new one. That way you have no problems. No worries, thank you. Now, my drop is done. My drop is beautiful. All I do now is I can make now something different. Now, my drop is done. And I can open up a brand new FL Studio now. And I can drop down my beautiful stem file now. I can do that now. Let's have a look over here. And guys, just save your FLP files anyway, just so that you can have something new going on for yourself. Make sure no matter what that you're never starting anything over again when doing music production. Let's have a look over here. I know nothing. So over here, I have a beautiful, my timeline is done and ready for me to go. I'll just completely, let's have a look over here, what's going on. Now, I can go with this, it's no problem. And I have to realize now that I have to make myself a new FL Studio completely, or I can just, let's have a look. I'll drop the arrangement over here and let's see how it sounds. Now, it has one WAV file throughout the whole track. And the WAV file can be seen to say, hey, my drop is over here. So what I do now is I see that no matter what, it's never really my actual kick. It's actually the gross beat inside of my master channel that's turned on. So when you have an actual effects channel, when you put it in the master and you turn it on, and then you drop an actual stem file inside of the arrangement list, your actual wave file is going to go boom, 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 boom. It's going to be muffled because you put the effect on for it to go, to keep going inside of your master channel. So when you're placing a new stem file inside of your FL Studio or your music production file, make sure that the effect that you placed in the drop is turned off in the master channel. That way it will never keep repeating itself. So now when I play my drop, once I've dropped it inside my arrangement list, since I've turned off the growth speed in my master channel and the effect system inside my master channel, it's going to start playing my drop as is. There. Now I see how that is, and in this kick right now, what I can do is I can place the hat to keep kicking inside of this drop. And I realize no matter what that the kick of the drop is, let's have a look. It's just going behind. There's nothing really doofing it to say there's a click or something. And in some ways the drop is really, let's say, it's muffled behind the kick in terms of it's muffled behind the punch or the kick. So what I can do is, let's have a look over here. I can add a nice beautiful kick with my hats for extra measure. And honestly, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be hearing the kick, the actual punch of the kick. And in that track, I actually have to make sure no matter what that I can hear this kick going. Yeah. See, with the first kick, it shows the actual hat, and then it has to show from that previous attempt to show the other kicks inside of that. So it's supposed to really sound as an actual kick inside the mix. So in this wave point, what I can really do now is I can look to place my hats right there where those kicks are, and then I can export the whole file again as is. I just add the actual punch to the kick. Now let's have a look. So in terms of my song, now I see what's happening. So no matter what, that's how it goes. Let's have a look. So what you need to do is just open up a totally new section of your actual kick, and in terms of your arrangement, and add it in a totally new file just so that we can see what's going on. So no matter what, guys, just open up a totally new file, because no matter what happens, when you import stem files into the same mixer where you created the drop, what's going to happen is your actual, let's say, your drop is going to be monetized to the way it was before. So never even do that. Just make a totally new section so you can actually hear what's going on. So now it has the actual click gone. So I did everything excellent. There we go, that's it. It has a kick, it has a click now. Before I was missing the click. As now what I've done is I open up a new FL Studio, totally new mix, everything. and I dropped the stem file in a totally new mix, and now I can hear it properly the way I actually made it. So now what I can do is I can use my previous arrangement list. I can use my previous arrangement list to, let's say, make other stem files now. So all I do now is I can delete all of these patterns now inside of my drop. I can delete everything in the channel rack, totally. And I can now focus on making other parts of my track, such as I can make a nice beautiful melody, I can make the vocals, I can place the vocals where I need it. I can do the intro, I can do the build up now. I can do the build up. And then I'll place all the build ups. I have 3 build ups in my track. I'll do the build ups the same way for each section of my track. And then I would export the file. And once I export the file, then I arrange the file. I export the actual build up first, and then I arrange where the build up goes in my track. And then it will be build up drop in 2 stem files in another software, in terms of in another queue section of your arrangement. And then from that point, you just keep layering your tracks. So for example, with this track, there is around 6 ways I can do it. There is actually, let's have a look. There is verse, there's 3 verses. So 3 verses, we'll go three occasions. So I can do the build up, drop, the verse. The outro and the intro. Outro and intro is the same. So I have 4 ways to do this, and make the percussion, whatever, and that's it. The track's done. The track's going to be beautiful. I can already sense it. So it's a very simple draw. It's very simple, and it's going to go off. It's very simple. That's why. So no matter what, this drop right here, in today's age, let's say, it can go. It can go. It's very simple. But that's from the news perspective in terms of, let's have a look. That's with the plugins gone. It's actually the EQ. The EQ. Haha. So it's my EQ. EQ made the stem file low in tonality, which is why my actual high sounds and my high pitch kick in terms of my hat was EQ'd off, which was actually inside my master channel, inside my mix. So that's why when you import all of your stem files that are already mastered inside of your FL Studio, make sure you turn off everything in the master mix. In the master channel, turn off all the plugins, because you've already mastered it. So you have no need for those plugins anymore. So that's why I see now. Now it sounds much beautiful. Now I can save this file. Beautiful. Thank you very much. So now all I do is, as you can see, that's set up. That's my drop right there. Now all I do is the build-ups. There's 3 sections of my build-ups, and there's 2 sections of my verse, and everything else is percussion. Everything else is percussion. And that's it. It's going to be a nice simple drop. It's going to be a nice simple build-up, a nice simple verse and everything. And I'll be singing it, I'll be doing it, and that's it. So guys, no matter what, let's have a look now what I can do. In terms of this video, I can make sure to keep it going. I can make sure now to just make myself a beautiful, let's have a look what I'll make. I can now make the outro. I can make the outro now. Why not? I can make the outro of my track. So when I make the outro of my track here, all I do is I mute the actual stem file, and my actual outro, what it does is I have the kick that I set out to do. I made the kick previously inside my actual, what I did was I did export the stem of my kick. I exported the kick stem, so I'll throw it inside the actual kick stem. So it's very important, guys, that you just export the actual kick sound so you can always have it. That way I can make a smaller kick from this now. and it's going to go inside my, it's going to go inside of my inside of my actual outro, and it's going to be a smaller kick, of course. So now let's have a look over here at what's happening. So I'll press the stem file, I'll press this, and I will now, let's have a look. Just make sure, guys, when you're exporting kick sounds, just export one kick only. One kick is more enough. Never export 4 kicks like I just did. Do you understand? As when you export 4 kicks, then it's going to be much more difficult to make your own kick from that kick file. So what I can do is I can make my kick sound for the outro totally nice, and it can be totally, let's say, spontaneous. I can make a high pitch one, and you can go off the track. Let's have a look. To stretch your actual FLP files, never stretch your FLP files in terms of your stems unless you're making a higher pitch sound. Let's have a look over here. There we go. There's that sound there. Now that's the kick there. That's the kick there. It's a smaller kick. What can I do with this kick? I can make it as is, and I can let it be. I can let it be inside of the actual chain, and I can make it nice and shorter. And let that be, as I need the drop to be fully, let's say, hands-on. And this kick can be just 1 or 2 kicks inside the track. So guys, this is all test theory. I'm just testing everything now. I'm just making a nice, beautiful track that I can listen to. That is my own. That is my own, of course. Now let's have a look at it. So over here. That's it. That's one beautiful kick right there. And this one can be layered into my, let's have a look over here. Now that kick's already mastered. This kick's already mastered. So the kick as it sounds is supposed to be that way, and that's it. So all I do is I layer it now, and to place in the pattern, much better to do so. So in my channel rack, it's already doing that. Place it in the pattern in the pattern channel rack. There we go. Now it's in the actual channel rack. Now that's the full kick. That will be the short kick. And that's the short kick version. When I put the pitch up. So all you have to do is you place your smaller kick inside the channel rack, and then you toggle everything that you need in terms of that kick inside the actual channel rack, and that's it. Haha, there we go. And I can do it, why not? I can make it funky. There you go. I can make my kick nice and high pitched for this one. Why not? I can make it nice and, let's say, reversed. I can make it nice and beautiful. The time, what's this? Haha. Delay timer. Never use a delay on your kick, ever. Ha ha ha.